The Vikings are placing Justin Jefferson on injured reserve because of the hamstring injury he suffered in Sunday's loss to Kansas City. So, Jenks, when you see this, number one, huge bummer for
Mhm.
anybody that has him on their fantasy team. Huge bummer for anybody who had Justin
Mhm.
Jefferson to win Offensive Player of the Year. I am one of those people. And huge bummer for the Vikings in general. Do you think this signals that the Minnesota Vikings are now in tank mode?
I don't know if they're in tank mode. They'll still try to win football games, but I think what it does is it just takes a bad football team and makes them worse. This is their best player, offensively or defensively, and you're taking away Kirk Cousins' best weapon. I saw that this was a very strong possibility. I knew he was injured because he left last weekend's game. And so like I'm not trying to go all in on the Bears all of a sudden just because they broke a 14-game losing streak, but from a pure numbers perspective, again, it makes me like the Bears at home getting 3. The Vikings are a team that, man, they had their best shot, right? And now they're just starting to falter, and it just goes to show this North Division for the Lions is just for the taking because it doesn't matter who you look at. Outside of Detroit, it's trash.
Right. And I think the subtext of this is a lot of people are kind of speculating that this means that the Vikings will now be listening to offers to trade Kirk Cousins. Because isn't this kind of a rumor that we've been hearing all season long just because the
Mhm.
Jets, we know Zach Wilson is not the long term answer for them. And also, just quarterbacks in general are always a hot commodity. If you are even baseline mediocre and can drive an offense at least somewhat, I think you're always a hot commodity. So keep your eyes peeled for what's going on in Minnesota as some of that develops. And also, it's just been a terrible season for Minnesota, a team that at least had some offensive promise, now sitting in the dumps, especially after this news. Jenks, who is getting your first impression rose for the NFL slate?
First impression rose. Well, let me look here because I wrote a lot of notes down yesterday. I always over prepare and write so many notes, and then I use, about a quarter of these. I think, I like the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks getting 2.5 points in Cincinnati. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, hey, the Bengals look good last week. They're laying 2.5 points. That's less than a field goal. I don't buy it just yet. I don't buy the Bengals just yet based on a very good performance against a Cardinals team that stinks. Geno Smith as an underdog in his career, Chelsea, is 20-13-5 against the spread. So if for some reason this number gets to 3, I would hammer the Seahawks. I probably think it won't get there because I do see some Seattle money coming in, but I am leaning Seahawks plus 2.5.
I think this is going in my teaser because right now I don't trust the Bengals to blow out anybody. And this is right in the range
Mm-hmm.
where you can pass through a bunch of key numbers. We will talk about my teaser in a few segments here on the show. But I do like that one at 2.5 for even money if you want to play that spread. For me, I'm going to be looking at the Colts getting 4.5. I know Anthony Richardson is going to be out for the next few weeks with a shoulder injury, I believe. But Gardner Minshew has proven that he is more than a viable threat at
Mm-hmm.
backup quarterback. So this is a divisional matchup. I feel like these games always play a little bit closer than people expect. Like we see this all the time. Like look at the Commanders in that game against the Eagles. And then the Commanders next game lost to the Bears. So I just feel like divisional matchups, if you're giving me over a field goal in that Colts-Jags matchup, I'm going to lean towards the Colts getting that 4.5. However, the sabotage factor here is the Colts are much better when they can run the ball effectively, and the Jags have been pretty good at stopping the run. The Bills aren't really a run heavy team, so it doesn't kind of shock me when you see that the Bills only ran for 29 yards against this Jags defense because, they're a pass
Mm-hmm.
heavy offense. But look at the Falcons, a team that loves running the football, and they only ran for 127 yards on the ground, which is very low for them. So this Jacksonville run defense has been really good. If you can make the Colts kind of one dimensional and make Gardner Minshew make all those throws, that makes me a little
Mm-hmm.
nervous, but still, it is a divisional game. I will take the Colts as my first impression rose. I'm going to go Colts plus 10 at the Jags. I'm going to go Texans over Saints plus 7.5. I'm going to go Seahawks plus 8.5 at the Bengals. And of course, if you don't know what a teaser is, you are getting 6 points in your favor. The thing is, you have to combine it with a couple other games to get some value. A 3-leg teaser is plus 160. That's what I'm doing here. Jenks, who ruins my teaser?
Okay, give this to me again. Give me the 3 teams because I have the memory span of a gnat. So you got the Chiefs.
No.
No, the Chiefs 10. Are not in there. Oh, Colts plus 10.
No.
Okay.
Colts plus 10 over the Jags. Texans
okay.
over the Saints plus 7.5. So I'm taking the Texans plus 7.5. And then I'm taking the Seahawks plus 8.5 at the Bengals, which I already know you like because you like the Seahawks on the normal spread. So who runs my teaser between the Colts and the Texans?
I don't know. The Colts, maybe? That's it? I like this teaser. I know I'm supposed to be the devil's advocate here and say, I'm not sure about this, but I guess there's a possibility. I'm not quite sure that the Jaguars haven't played their best football yet. Like, I still think they can improve based on what we saw at the end of last season when they almost beat Kansas City. Jags are laying 4.5 right now, so maybe the Jags finally coming back home from London. I'm trying to make this case, even though I do love your teaser. But the Jags finally back home. They've been overseas for a couple weeks now. Back home in their own beds. Finally coming together. Coming off a huge win against the Bills. Taking on a Colts team with their backup quarterback, even though I know Gardner Minshew has performed very well. I guess it's the Jags, but I can't really make a case against that teaser, Chelsea.
We know the Astros are fully capable of winning just about any playoff game. But Sonny Gray, one of the aces for Minnesota. Do you have a side or an angle that you like here?
I will be playing Twins first 5 money line here at minus 140. The full game money line has moved to minus 140 as well. So we're seeing money come in on the Twins. And you mentioned Sonny Gray. I'm absolutely all over him. I just love the way he's been pitching. He's given up a total of 3 earned runs in his last 5 starts. That covers a span of 26 innings. So last time we saw him in the postseason, what did he do? He was fantastic against the Blue Jays. 5 shutout innings at home, struck out 6. Christian Javier on the road this season, an ERA of 5.42. And I just like the way the Twins are swinging their bats right now. Carlos Correa has come alive against his former team. That's why they pay him that money that they do. Royce Lewis is a great story. He's been swinging the bat, and I'm just rooting for him just in general because he was the number 1 overall pick, 2 ACL injuries. Here he is. Minnesota's hitting. They have a guy as good as anyone on the mound right now. Twins first 5 money line, minus 140.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk you off of that. I think for me, I'm going to trust both pitchers because here's the thing about Christian Javier. In the postseason, this guy has been nails. Over the course of his career in the postseason, 4-1 with a 2.20 ERA. Last year, a perfect 2-0 with a 0.71 ERA. So when the October lights are shining the brightest, this is when Christian Javier is really good. And here's the thing about Minnesota that kind of worries me. Yes, they have been getting the timely hits, but also it's a team that has had one of the highest strikeout percentages in all of baseball for the entirety of the season. Christian Javier has some plus stuff when it comes to strikeouts. And then you look at Sonny Gray, who you made the case for him. He's been incredible overall this season and somebody who I feel like is good at limiting the blowups. I think this is the best pitching matchup we've seen in this Astros and Twins series so far because we've had like one side that's been really good. Like the first game, Justin Verlander was nails. All the runs kind of came at the end of the game for Minnesota. And then the great start for the Twins came from Pablo Lopez, who is their other dog. Sonny Gray, I feel like, is their other ace. Like you could really go 1A, 1B. So I'll go first 5 under 4.5. I think both of these pitchers can at least be decent here. So that's my read here. But who do we think wins the game? Like, I know it kind of sounds like you're siding towards Minnesota because you like them in the first 5. Yeah, but, this is just for fun. You like Minnesota in the full game?
Yeah, I like Minnesota first 5, like Minnesota full game. They have the relieving edge here. And again, I just like the way they're swinging the bats. I would take either one. So if you're handicapping this game, you can make a strong case for Minnesota over the full game just because of their allotment of relievers that will come in the game. And I'm just going to stick with Sonny Gray just because I feel like he's been profitable and because he's been so very good over his past few outings. But either one, I think, is a moneymaker. That's the hope, at least.